right, I'm back with some additional examples for the 30, 60, 90 triangle. They are a little more, I wouldn't say hard, but they're more work than the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. So I wanted to take a look at a few more 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. So I drew our triangle so we always can keep that in sight, and especially since we're just looking at the ratios. So it says that across from the 30-degree angle is your smallest side, that's 1. It tells us the hypotenuse is twice the smaller side. And then the longer side, you multiply the smaller side by the square root of 3. So those are the ratios for us to help us find the length of the triangles. So I got 4 that we'll take a look at in this video. So let's label our angles. So if this is 90, that's 60. This is a 30-degree angle. So in this picture, I am giving the length of the longest side. So across from 60 is the longest side, longest leg length, I should say. So this is the longest leg. So in this picture, I'm looking for the hypotenuse. So that's the longest side. I'm looking for the hypotenuse, and I'm looking for the short leg. So we have the longest leg. We're looking for the short leg and the hypotenuse. Now, the longest leg is equal to x times the square root of 3. Again, the longest leg is equal to x times the square root of 3. So let's set up an equation. So x times the square root of 3 is equal to the longest leg. The opposite of multiplying by the square root of 3 is to divide by the square root of 3. So x is equal to 12 divided by the square root of 3. Now, in the previous video, I introduced you to this concept called rationalizing. All you do is multiply the top and bottom by whatever the square root is. So if this is the square root of 3, we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. So on top, we're left with 12 square roots of 3 because I cannot put those together. And on the bottom, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, the square roots cancel, and you're left with 3. Again, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, your square roots cancel, and you're left with the number 3. And 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. So this is 4 square root of 3. And this is an error. So 12 divided by 3 gives me 4 square roots of 3. So how does that help me? Well, that just gave me the length of our shortest leg. So the ratio tells us that if you take your shorter leg and multiply by the square root of 3, it gives you the longer leg. So this time we were working backwards. So we took the longest leg, we divided it by the square root of 3 so that it now gives us the length of the shortest leg. So this is 4 square roots of 3. So that is the length of my shortest leg. So the shortest leg is always across from the 30-degree angle. So this is the shorter leg. And once you get the shorter leg, finding out the hypotenuse is easy. You just take the shorter leg and you multiply it by 2. So 4 times 2, my hypotenuse is 8 square roots of 3. All right, F, let's label. This is 90, this is 30, this is 60. In this particular problem, we're given the hypotenuse. If you divide the hypotenuse by 2, it gives you the length of the shortest leg. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. So that means that my shortest leg is 8. And that always goes across from this angle here. So this is going to give me 8. And it's easy once you do that part because if you take your shorter leg and multiply it by the square root of 3, it gives you the length of the longer leg, which is 8 square roots of 3. So if I go over that problem one more time, my ratios down here in this picture. Okay, those are my ratios. Across from the 30 degree is always the short leg. So 30 across from that is my short leg. And I got 8 by dividing my hypotenuse. So 2, these have a ratio of 1 times 2. So the shorter leg multiplied by 2 gives you this. So I just divided. I kind of worked backwards here to give me half of that. Okay, still trying to make sure I keep that ratio in the picture there. If this is 30, this is 60. So I'm on to example G. So this is 30, this is 60. We're going to go through and find what we're missing. I know that across from 60 is my longer leg. So I'm going to label this the longer leg. And I know it's the longer leg because it's directly across from 60. So that means we're looking for the shorter leg. So find 30, go across. We're looking for the shorter leg, and we're looking for the hypotenuse. Our relationship, I'm going to point down here. So my relationship between the longest leg and the shorter leg is that the shorter leg, when you multiply it by 3, gives you the square root of 3. So if I already know that this is 10 times the square root of 3, I know that my short leg is 10. Because all you do is multiply by the square root of 3 to get the longer leg. And your relationship between the short leg and the hypotenuse is that you multiply it by 2. So this is 20. And the last one, H. And actually, let me stay there so that we can see our triangle there. Label, this is 90, 60. This is 30. All right, let's see what we know. We know the length of our longer leg. So this is longer leg. Our longest leg, when you multiply it by square root of 3, it gives us when you divide it by the square root of 3, it gives us our short leg. So let's set up a relationship, an equation. So x times the square root of 3 is equal to 21. We're going to divide both sides by the square root of 3. You can't have a square root in the bottom, so I'm going to multiply both the bottom and the top by the square root of 3. Okay. That's going to give me 21 square roots of 3. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. So all it does is cancel out. So the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 3 because your square roots cancel out. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. So this is now the length of my shorter leg. And the shorter leg goes across from the 30-degree angle. So across from the 30-degree angle, this is 7 square roots of 3. Once you have the short leg, you take it, you multiply by 2 to give you the hypotenuse. We're going to be doing these for 3 days. So if maybe you're good with one triangle and not the other, it's okay. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of examples tomorrow, a whole bunch of examples the day after that, day after that. So we're going to be working on this for a few days. So if it's a little murky now, which possibly it may be, do not worry. We will be working on this for a few days.